Welcome, friends. It's Ray. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video is part of a collaboration with some crafty friends, and we wanted to just give you some ideas and tips and encouragement on starting your Christmas projects early so that you have more time to relax and spend with your family during the holidays. So check out everyone in the collaboration and then let them know if you came over from my YouTube video. In my video today, I'm using a layering stencil by Simon Says Stamp, Christmas foliage, and what I want to show you is how you can use these layering stencils to get some different looks.
So this is stencil number 1, which has the 3 flowers. And then this is stencil number 2 that has the branches and leaves. And stencil number 3 has the holly leaf and the larger branches, leaves, I guess. And then there is the 4th stencil, which is what I'm calling the all-in-one. So it encompasses all of these. And so you can use this by itself, use it to add glaze, mousse,
Add texture paste,
anything basically that you want to layer on top of your design. Or if you want a monochrome one color design, then just use this stencil by itself.
let's start designing our first panel. And here I'm starting with stencil number 2. And so starting with number 2 and bringing in peacock feathers, just going to partially ink up each image on the stencil, and then I'll come in with my cracked pistachio and blend that out so that I have some contrast to this panel. I have a pan of soapy water, and I will place that stencil in it while I work on this stencil number 3. I've brought in my cracked pistachio and doing like I did with the first stencil, just bringing the color in on part of the image, and then we'll come in with the Mermaid Lagoon and blend or ink up the rest of the image, and then blend the 2 inks together to make a really pretty color combo. I wanted some non-traditional colors, and look at this. Lovely. I have cleaned off stencil 2. I'm bringing it back in because I do want to fill in some of my open spaces since I chose to omit stencil number 1 from this design. So I'm just bringing in some more of those large fern looking type leaves and blending those with the same cracked pistachio and Mermaid Lagoon. And now here I'm going to step back to stencil number 1. I don't want the large poinsettia flowers, but I do want the balls and the smaller flowers. So I'm blending or bringing or inking inking those in with my wilted violet distress ink. I'm just going to fill in all of the areas that look a little empty, basically going around my panel and adding one of these little clusters with wilted violet.
I specifically chose to use my Tim Holtz stamping platform and remove the door because I knew I would need to rotate this quite a bit and keep my panel in place. Now let's take a look at the stencils again. Using stencil 2 and 3, I could easily leave those holly leaves off and make just a winter scene that doesn't say holiday. So I think that's something I will definitely try in a future project. This is a beautiful layering stencil, so I do want to show you how it looks, I will say in full bloom.
I'm blending my first stencil using some seedless preserves distress oxide ink. And I'm using my Tim Holtz platform bottom because that allows me to place my stencil or each layered stencil in the same position, and I don't have to worry about whether it will line up. So I'm just going to use that bottom left corner to line my stencil up. And here I have colored just the large poinsettia flowers. Next, I'm using a small blending brush or small inking brush and bringing in some distress ink in Wilted Violet. I don't have this in Distress Oxide, but of course you can mix these any way you want in terms of distress and distress oxide. So that's what I'm doing, bringing in some different color purple here, and then blending in some of those round circles with my seedless preserves. And as I'm inking and blending, I can easily rotate my entire platform. I place in stencil number 2 and inked that with my Blue Lagoon off camera, not intentionally. I forgot to turn my camera back on. Look at the beauty of that. This just makes life so much easier. And here's my third stencil. And I'm bringing in my Distress Oxide in Cracked Pistachio. These smaller brushes allow you to more easily blend your colors. So I'm blending my Cracked Pistachio and my Mermaid Lagoon Distress inks, starting on one end with one color and then the other end with the other color, and then they just kind of meet and blend. That is what I am doing here. So I love this effect because it makes it look as though you've spent more time making this card design than you actually spent. This is really quick and easy. So as you're seeing, I came in with my Distress Oxide in Peacock Feathers. That's the last of my colors. And this is all blending so well together.
So as I finished up that inking, I noticed a little area that I had not finished coloring. So laid that back down and finished that up. So before I turn these into cards, I want to just mainly point out some differences. So I inked these the same way using the same inks. And with this one, I put the Cosmic Shimmer Sparkle Texture Paste in Frosty Dawn Sparkle. Frosty Dawn Sparkle. Put that on over top. I didn't show that on camera, but I have used this texture paste in another video, so I will link to that if you'd like to see that process. But the cool thing about this stencil is there is like an all-in-one stencil that you can use over top your design. Let me get it turn it around here, so that, let's see, oops, have it turned wrong, and this turned wrong. Okay, gonna get it straight here. So you can put the all-in-one stencil over top and add your glitter, texture paste, gel, mousse, whatever you want to add or use. So again, same colors. The texture paste muted my, gave me shining glitter. Hope you can see that. But it muted the colors, which is fine. I love that. I love the natural colors. And then this one I did without the flowers.
I placed panel 1 and panel 2 in my splatter box, and you'll see number 2 here. And I used my Gansai Tambi watercolors in gold and I believe blush gold or rose gold, and splattered gold all over each of those panels.
So for sentiments in today's cards, I'm going to be using this Concord and Ninth Mix and Match Holiday Sentiments stamp set and the matching die that cuts out all of the different sentiments so that you can mix and match them.
So here, I've already stamped this design in my MISTI and with Hero Arts Intense Black ink, and made sure it was dry, prepped it for heat embossing. Now I'm bringing in my VersaFine Onyx black ink. I'm going to stamp that until I get really good coverage. I used a regular dry eraser to apply pressure to my stamp when stamping. Since this is a holiday theme, I thought I'd add a little sparkle to my designs, and I'm bringing in my Hero Arts Sparkle embossing powder. So I'm bringing in my embossing tool and starting from the back, because this is a large image that I'm heat embossing. So I started from the back until my gun got really hot, and then brought it to the front, and watching the magic. Love this. And my entire sentiments will be really sparkly. I'm going to place my die that coordinates with this sentiment stamp, and place that over and add a little low-tack tape and run this through my die cutting machine, and it will cut out all of these individual sentiments so I can mix and match them. So here I'm placing panel number 1 in my paper trimmer and lining up one of the corners, and am going to just cut that. I know. And then I'm flipping it around and I'm going to give it a second cut, and then a third. So I end up with four pieces, and then I'm going to place it in an embossing folder, 2 at a time. I did number them on the back, so it'll be easy for me to remember the order. And then emboss these, ran them through my die cutting machine, emboss to give it a little texture. I do the same for the other 2 pieces. Before I cut my panel in 4, it measured 3 1/4 by 7 3/4. I had trimmed it down. And then here I have a panel or a mat of Hero Arts Paradise cardstock, and that measures 3 3/8 by 8 1/8. And I have a magnetic or a metal table underneath. So I am using my magnets to line up my 4 pieces, cut pieces on my grid mat. Once I get those lined up where I want them, then I will bring in my liquid glue and go ahead and affix these to the mat. And I am leaving about a 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch, probably more like a 1/16. I'm just eyeballing it. A 1/16 of an inch in between each of my cut pieces. Here I am gluing the bottom piece. I've already glued the top. So now I'm gluing the bottom, and then I will do my in-between pieces. Just makes it easier to keep my narrow border the way I want it. I will admit it was hard to cut this design into these pieces because, you know, we put so much work into inking them up. But I like the outcome. This adds more interest to the panel. Here I've used a Hero Arts Infinity oval die, cut an oval from vellum, and now bringing in a couple of sentiment strips from the Concord and Ninth stamp set, and am positioning these on the panel where I think I want them to go. Then I will bring in my glue, affix them to my vellum. Then I will place glue on the back of the vellum directly behind the sentiment strips, and then place that on my panel. And then I will strategically bring in the glue and place it in certain areas on the panel, mainly on top of these circles and all around the oval, because I'm going to actually cover that a little later. But this actually dries pretty well. And isn't as noticeable. But again, I'm going to place something over top in just a bit. I flip my panel over and take my scissors and just trim off that edge. Next, I partially release my double-sided tape on the back of my panel and line that up and place it on my card base. Once I get it where I want it, I commit it, and then I remove the rest of my release paper from my tape. So now I'm bringing in my Nuvo Crystal Glitter Drops in Purple Rain, one of my favorites, and I am placing that over top the remnants of my glue spots. My finished slimline card measured 3 3/4 by 8 1/2. Card number 2 is using panel number 2, and I have cut it down. I will leave all of the measurements on my blog post. So I've cut this down, my main panel down, and matted it with a gold layer and then a layer of Hero Arts Adriatic cardstock. I am going to use my small T ruler to line up my sentiment strips, placing those in the center of this card design. Once I get the or the first sentiment strip glued down, then I use the others to center it vertically and horizontally, and then go ahead and commit those with glue. I will use the same double-sided tape to affix this panel to my 5x7 card base, and then bring in my Nuvo Crystal glitter drops to add a few embellishments. Card number 3 uses a leftover piece of panel number 2, and it is an A2 card. So 4¼ by 5½ will be the finished card design. I don't show it on camera, but I did put this card together just like card number 2. Exact same design, one mat instead of 2. And here's the finished card. The next person on the hop is Veronica Chambers. I will link to her video below in the description bar. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if not already a subscriber. Until next time, good day, friends.